Sure. Okay, so interestingly enough, with the AquaBike, the pacing strategy is different in a race than we would normally have, right? Because there's two things to think about. One is obviously there's no run. So in a normal long course race, a huge part of the bike is about fueling and exiting the bike pretty neutral in terms of like calories burned, calories consumed, maintaining our stored glycogen so we can head out on the run where we can eat significantly less while we're running and still be successful. When we take that out of the equation and say, you know what, I can finish the bike and be finished with my fuel, there's an advantage there. Not that we want to run you into the ground on the bike, but as you increase the intensity, right? Intensity goes up, ability to fuel goes down, right? You can consume less and less the harder and harder you go. You know, just think about it. Go to the track, run your hardest mile, and also try to eat and drink at the same time. Not only is it a big old mess everywhere, but it's also hard to breathe at the same time as you're doing those types of efforts, right? So when we think about what that means from a racing perspective, what I would say is you can be significantly more aggressive. Now, the catch with that is a normal Ironman bike might be in zone 2, like 70 to 72% of effort for most folks. And you can do an AquaBike closer to half Ironman intensity. So somewhere between 0.8, 80% to 0.85 or 85% of your threshold power. So much more significant. The catch is this: you can't do the whole thing. You can't go out there and say, you know, from the time I get on the bike to the time that I roll across this finish line and fall over, you're like that, look at that. That's your celebration. You'd be like, woo, and then you would maybe fall over. When you do all of that, it's not a straight effort at 0.8 or 0.85. There needs to be variability. So similar to how you might feel in a group ride or so on, there'll be places in the course where work will matter more than others. And even if those course sections don't exist, if it's a predominantly flat course, I want you to build them in. So a general routine would be looking at something like 20 or 25 minutes at that intensity that we want, and then 5 minutes at a lighter intensity. So if you have the opportunity on the course, you may say it's rolling, right? So you say, hey, you know, here I am, I'm 35 minutes in, let's go. You're gonna ride at 80% or as best you can in that window, you know, until you get 25 minutes, 20 minutes down the road, and then you're gonna back off. And ideally, obviously you're backing off on a flat section, a tailwind section, or something with a downhill. If you hit a downhill earlier, then take your 5 minute break there, reset the clock on the work. But your body needs that little bit of a break. We can't just sit on it, right? We can't just peg it. The needle will just go to red on the engine. That'll be a tough spot to be. So I would think a lot about looking at the course, seeing how that would play out for you, and making sure that you can stagger the work such that you get the work intervals you need with the small micro recoveries to keep you going. More often than not, in terms of the races when they form in AquaBikes, that they're super strong bikers, right? So people can swim and bike pretty fast regardless of size. But on the run, obviously, it's different. So you have to understand that there will absolutely be a pack of people who are trying to get away. So your job early in the bike, unlike a traditional Ironman, would be, you know, can I go once I'm settled? Can I go hard for a few minutes? Either, you know, latch onto a group going by me, or bridge up to a group that's in front of me to kind of make that break, make that group to stick with, and then ride. So the two little considerations for you to think about. Long ride, we usually tell people 6 hours or 112 miles, whichever comes first. If you did 2 6-hour rides, that's great. In terms of our normal protocols, this far out, I would recommend sometime between now and 10 weeks to go that you do put in a big bike weekend. So back-to-back long rides, they could both be 5 hours or a century. Not hard, but just resetting that aerobic clock and that mental understanding of what work is.